And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this wonderful Wednesday, middle of July here. And we are looking at temperatures outside in the 80s, only in the upper 60s in the far northern valley into northern Minnesota. They had some thunderstorm activity, and they have some remaining cloud cover to the north, so thus the cooler weather off to the north. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And Bridgette, we're going to continue with this heat, it looks like, and unfortunately, the drier weather all the way through the upcoming weekend, it looks like now.
I think most of the state, even areas that had heavy rainfall recently, would say, we take a little bit more moisture. And they don't need more moisture. It's the fact that that top couple inches is now dry, but there's muck underneath. The rest of us, we just need some moisture. So we're just going to wait and see when that may actually happen.
Right. And I really don't see a whole lot until later next week. We've got a pretty dry weather pattern, although we are seeing signs of a pattern change next week. The question is just how much cooler weather, and do we see any rain along with that? Well, until then, we're dealing with some hot conditions and heat advisories in effect south of the Grand Forks area, all the way through the central and southern valley into Lakes Country, with temperatures today in the low 90s and winds out of the east-southeast about 10 to 15. Clear and muggy tonight, low 70s, and southeast winds about 5 to 15. And those winds will be out of the south-southeast tomorrow about 10 to 20, and highs in the mid-90s. And it looks like we stay in the 90s all the way through the weekend. But by next week, it looks like we do cool down into the 80s, at least, by the middle of next week. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that by the end of next week, we start to see more chances of finally a little bit of precip. And this weather is brought to you by the Hot Tub and Sauna Store. In fact, have you ever tried one of their Caldera spas? I just got one installed. Can't wait to hop in and try that out. It's relaxing. It's built for pure comfort, super efficient energy use, and easy saltwater maintenance. Just imagine coming home to that perfect daily soak every night. Relaxes you, gets you all calmed down for bed. And for serious health benefits, step into the Finleo sauna so you can train, detox, and truly relax right at home. The Hot Tub and Sauna Store, living the life you love. Stop by today next to Costco in West Fargo. And yeah, some people might say, yeah, it's a little too warm to get in the hot tub, but when that sun goes down, and it still feels good.
You can adjust temperatures. Unlike the outdoors, you can actually make those things change just a lot of bit when it comes to what you're actually doing with your spas as well. Other things that you can change, well, you can go from just listening over the air to watching us on our Lighthouse Commodities live stream. You can do that on Facebook, YouTube, Acres TV, especially if you want to go back and see what in the world were they talking about. Did you miss something great? Well, we'd hate for you to do that. So you're welcome to join us on that live stream at any point during the show. Addison does a fabulous job of making sure you get to see the outside, as he calls it, the place he rarely gets to go on days like today, because we keep him hopping pretty heavily. Additionally, it's Wednesday weather trivia. We look forward to being able to do that throughout the show today, so be prepared. When we say the trivia question, you'll want to call us on the JLA insurance phone line. That number is 701-293-9000. We have Darter plastic bait ups. These are your own personal bait up. They are your own little personal bait machine, so to speak. Keeps ready to dispense minnows when you need them, and you don't have to dig around in an icy, slimy minnow bucket in order to get one. But you can earn that bait up from us by paying attention for Wednesday weather trivia. So that bait cup is kind of its own version of technology. And in some ways, most of us see tractors and we just think they've always had cabs. That's always been a piece of technology that was available. Actually, John Deere introduced cabs as a from the factory option in 1972. And that's probably later than some of you were thinking. There are older tractors that did have cabs put on them. Those were considered after the factory additions that went on. But one of the nice things that really happened was those were the second generation tractors, as they're called. They came with more insulation in them. So there's insulation at the roof of the cab as well as between the cab and the transmission. And it took the sound decibel level in those cabs from about 95 decibels down about 10 or 15 decibels lower. Now, for someone who went from being in cabs that were add-ons to those that were actually coming from the factory, that was huge. It was so nice to have that cut in noise. Also, I had the option for air conditioning. What a great idea. Otherwise, you're sitting in a big glass fish tank. And air conditioning also was like putting the body on the car. And so now you had better seals. And with those seals, the cabs were pressurized and that would push out the dirt rather than letting all of that dust come in and cover you, the controls, and everything else. Even better, the most important feature that came around in those Generation 2 tractors, AM/FM radios. I'm not sure what most of us would have done without them because Lord knows we had no other entertainment. It is not like we had phones to look at or iPads to watch. In fact, I do have to laugh. There was a farmer right around here where I live. When I first met him, this was when auto steer was kind of a new thing. He knew how to line up the stack on his tractor with the furrow, so he knew what he was doing. So he could read books, and he would have books out there. I don't think I was ever a good enough tractor driver to do that. I already had a little trouble with iron blight when cultivating corn, and Dad would not have stood for any more distractions going on in that cab if I'd have tried. So yeah, it was really a big deal when cabs started to come around. I remember having a conversation with the folks from the Steiger Heritage Club saying that a debate when the Steigers were still being built on farm at Red Lake Falls, Minnesota, um, should we put a cab on this? Would a farmer then pay additional money for air conditioning? The answer is to that, yes and yes. Everybody wanted cabs, and holy cow, wow, did we want air conditioning after, again, you were sitting in that hot cab with all that heat coming at you and the sunshine. I will tell you, when the air conditioning fails on those machines, you know it, you're not very comfortable. Speaking of getting comfortable, how's your tractor driving skills? Have I got a class for you? All right, so Dean, Addison, here we go. University of Minnesota Extension is offering a Drive and Thrive Confidence with Tractors, Trucks, and Trailers. This is actually about a half day seminar on July 27th up at Crookston. And it is a workshop where they are helping those of you who want more low stress in your lives. And this is for learners to get behind the wheel of a tractor as well as a pickup with a trailer. So you're going to go through connecting and disconnecting equipment, driving in reverse with attachments behind you, understanding tractor controls, applying safety features to the equipment. And I'm going to guess there is someone there who's doing a better job of teaching you how to read the hand signals than what it was like to have your dad do it, yelling at you through the pickup window where you were trying to back up a gooseneck. Not that I'm speaking from experience, but that's how it went. There was probably yelling and tears from everybody involved at that point. But nonetheless, I think if you go to this ride and drive with confidence, you're going to feel a lot better than what many of us did when we learned how to drive. So maybe you've got kids on the farm. Maybe you have summer help coming for later on this season. Even those who might be helping you during harvest. This would be a great opportunity. It's only $35. It's a wonderful class for you to take and to be a part of. So if you are curious about that and want to attend, you are certainly welcome to email me, ag@flagfamily.com. I will make sure to send that link to you. If you are curious in regards to what you've got going on for weather questions, you can reach out to Dean. You can do that, weather@flagfamily.com. So, as I said, we're going to have Wednesday weather trivia. We also have the guys from Red River Sugarbeet Growers Association. And we're going to be visiting with Harrison Weber. He's our executive director. And then Darren Hoyme from Kindred, who is their grower association president. He's a farmer himself from Kindred. I want to make sure those guys get connected. I see I'm getting some messages from them. So we're going to want to come back with them in just a few minutes. And that's after the livestock market update from the American Ag Network. All right, now you got one more chance to get to Project Safe Sands. North Dakota Department of Agriculture is making a spot available for you to bring unused and unwanted pesticides for proper disposal. Tomorrow is the last day. That will be Thursday, July 16th, and it'll be in Larimore. It'll be at the North Dakota DOT site from 8 a.m. to noon. Clean out those sheds, garden sheds. If you missed all the other sites where it was happening, now's your chance to make a run for Larimore. Get that taken care of tomorrow morning. If you are going to be taking whoopsie, that was my hand hitting my keyboard. If you are going to be taking a large quantity, you're going to want to reach ahead to the Department of Ag and have a conversation with them about what you're bringing. And you can do that at 701-328-2231. If you're not sure what all the requirements and rules are, check the Department of Ag's website. And I've also posted information on the Facebook page for Weather and Ag in Focus. Today is a sweet day. We're going to talk all about sugar. Looking forward to the discussion we have with Red River Valley Sugarbeet Growers Association Executive Director Harrison Weber. I bet you get that though. Harrison Ford from time to time.
I'll take it.
All right.
Whoa.
And the grimace comes from his association president. That's Darren Hoyme, who farms down at Kindred. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. I'm looking forward to having a chat with you. First questions, though, for those who might not be familiar. Harrison, tell us a little bit about the association. It's the organization's history, if you will, and your duties as an organization for sugar beet growers.
Yeah, you betcha. The Red River Valley Sugarbeet growers really can trace its roots back to the early 30s of the 1900s, where they were a grassroots organization to leverage the then privately owned American Crystal Sugar Company for better rates, and also leverage the rail company for better freight rates, et cetera, et cetera. As time had progressed, it became the entity in 1973 that banded together and said, hey, let's buy this darn thing and run it as a co-op. And on day two, they decided we can keep the association and keep the cooperative, and we'll run both organizations separately, but all for the betterment of the Red River Valley Sugar Beet grower. And so today we work on policy in DC and St. Paul and Bismarck, as well as local issues, a lot of agronomic issues, try to spread the good word of sugar. So that's kind of our role here at the Red River Valley Sugar Beet growers.
And we are the top dog when it comes to sugar beet growing regions in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. So between North Dakota and Minnesota, there is about 60% of the beet acres here. There are three sugar beet cooperatives: American Crystal Sugar Company, Mindak Farmers Co-op, and Renville, a Southern Minnesota Beet Sugar Co-op. But combined, those three are about 60% of the acres. But this region is the hot spot, and it's the place to be when it comes to sugar beets.
So, Darren, as a producer, your farm has been raising sugar beets for a little bit of time. What's your role as the president of the Grower Association?
Well, just to make sure that we represent all the growers up and down the valley here for American Crystal Sugar, and we're kind of the boots on the ground, so to speak. There is a board that works with the co-op as far as the policy and everything they do within the cooperative. But we're the boots on the ground that ends up going to DC and lobbying for certain things that might be coming up, headwinds that come in our way sometimes, whether it's just on policy, or sometimes there's issues with certain pesticides that we like to continue to use, but EPA might be looking at, and even on the state level too. There's a lot of policies that happen on the state level in North Dakota and Minnesota that we just keep an eye on and make sure that our growers are represented and their voices are heard whenever something comes up.
And Darren, as the guy, those boots on the ground, literally in the field, can you give a little overview of what does the sugar beet crop look like? I get this question a lot. What's the heat doing to our corn, our soybeans, etc.? But let's talk about the sugar beets.
Well, sugar beets are pretty resilient on weather conditions, especially now with this heat dome that's been over our area. The plant itself can drill down for moisture and survive a lot longer than, let's say, corn or soybeans. We went into this season fairly well with moisture, but as I was talking to one of our farmers up further up the valley, in our situation and in his, we've been kind of spoon-fed moisture as the season has gone along. So the concern was always that if we get a heat dome moving in, are we going to make it through? Now, like I say, the sugar beet itself, that can hang in there quite a while. But yes, we were looking forward to this heat getting out of here, and especially with our other crops. Just last night, we flew in from Detroit, and it was midnight when I was driving back, and it was still 83 degrees. So any plant out there needs a break, and it's just not happening with this heat dome in place. Otherwise, the crop looks fairly good. You know, we're confident we'll raise a good crop this year. We were in early. That makes a difference. We did have a situation with, and you know it as well as we do. There was a lot of wind in this spring season, and especially that one week. I mean, we had dirt flying all over it. And as farmers, we don't like to see that. We try to make sure that doesn't happen. But you can't do anything about it when it's 40-mile-an-hour winds 3 days in a row and high temps. So it was an awful week in May there, but we did get back into our planters and get our acres replanted that needed to be. And in some areas, they made it through just fine. So we're still confident we'll have a good crop this year.
Darren, I have a weather guy standing in the studio. What do you need for a good crop from here through harvest? It's your chance to get it your way. So you better tell him.
We want perfect, timely rains when we ask for it.
No problem.
Simple, right?
No problem. No problem. Well, I'll tell you what. I did post an article today using our LRC calendar, and it does highlight when the wet periods will be all the way through September for the state of North Dakota. So you can kind of take a look at that and see if you're going to get the timely rains. And I wish I had better news for you guys. Latest guidance is keeping this heat dome in not only through the weekend. Now they're trying to keep it in through early next week before we start to see some relief. But there is relief by the end of next week into that following weekend. But the chances of rain, there's a big question mark on that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we at least get some rain towards the end of next week. I don't see much before that, though.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of nodding.
Well,
just take that news.
Also, as long what'll happen is it'll start raining on October 1st, right when we start harvest.
Yeah,
That's
right.
usually, traditionally how it goes.
Right.
So,
that's exactly.
hopefully we can turn the faucet off by then.
So one of the things we want to make sure to talk about today is the size and scope of the industry here in the Red River Valley, the impacts that what's going on geopolitically on our sugar industry, what's happening with imports, what's happening with changes in diets, etc. That's our biggest bulk of our conversation. And we're going to do that after we do our bottom of the hour news. Before we go to that news break, Harrison, you guys have been out doing what you call your shop tours or shop meetings, I believe, as of late. Can you give a little background on what's been the main topics of discussion while doing that with growers?
Yeah, Bridgette, I think it was last week, we had 10 or 11 shop meetings up and down the valley, well attended by the growers throughout the valley. And really the primary focus of those meetings is just hearing an update from the co-op, agronomic issues that we're facing, how did processing finish up, how the market is right now, and then also on policy. And so, heard an update from all of those things. And I think the biggest thing on everybody's mind is what the market's doing. That's the bottom line. That's obviously why you go into business or you do anything is to be able to turn a profit. And right now we're really at a crossroads in our industry and facing some extremely challenging times with the market. And that's no fault of our own, really. It's ultimately because of foreign bad actors that continue to subsidize their industry substantially and then dump their excess product onto the market for countries like the United States to figure out. And so that's really kind of what we're up against, and we can certainly go into more detail about that. But that was kind of our primary point of discussion last week up and down the valley, and a lot of good questions by guys and a lot of curiosity and wondering when things are going to get better. So
Well, I can't wait to hear what your crystal ball has to say about when things are going to get better and the impacts on the industry here up and down the valley. We're going to do that after the news break. When we return, we're going to continue our discussion with the guys from the Red River Valley Sugar Beet Growers Association right here in Fargo. Sometimes you hear us talking about businesses so often, you're thinking, I'd like to meet those folks in person. Well, you have that opportunity with Tech Support Farm. They will be at Ag PhD Field Day on Thursday, July 30th, down in Baltic, South Dakota. Chris Sherman will be one of the featured speakers on their main stage at the Morton Building. And so you get a chance to listen to what Chris has to say about cybersecurity and visit with him in person at his booth. I'll be down there too, and I look forward to seeing you all. Again, that's on Thursday, July 30th in Baltic, South Dakota, Ag PhD Field Day. Today, our guests joining us are Harrison Weber and Darren Hoyme. They are both with the Red River Valley Sugarbeet Growers Association. Darren's a president and grower, and Harrison is the executive director. Now, before we went to the break, Harrison made mention of the fact that there's some things happening globally where we are seeing an excessive amount of global sugar being dumped into our market that's affecting our price. And okay, guys, help me out here. We went from one of the best beet prices 2 years ago to where we are now. How did we get there, boys?
Yeah, Bridget, it's really a function of the world market, and so and we need to kind of back up or bring things closer to home here first to set the stage. So in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
we're actually net importers of sugar, unlike all of our other crops that we raise, corn, soybeans, wheat, et cetera, where we rely on the export market. In sugar, we only produce about 75% of our domestic needs, meaning we need to import rough and dirty 25% each year. And so we actually provide preferential access to 41 different countries, duty free each and every year to fill our demand. Anything above and beyond that, basically 100% of what we would need as a country, uh, other countries are free to bring sugar in unlimited quantities as long as they pay a duty, a tariff. And really, the issue is that inflation has eaten away at this tariff that was set 25 years ago. It hasn't been adjusted, and countries are able to, like Brazil, are able to produce a crop uh, and export it here, pay the tariff, and still make a profit, and still be able to undercut us. And so that's really the kind of the root of the problem. And it really was eye opening to go from really one of the best times in sugar to really the worst time in sugar in a matter of months.
Well, and doing that, the impact at the farm level has been tremendous. I mean, Darren, how do you adjust that quickly for such a change in a 2 year time period? I'm not sure there's a way for you to do that.
There isn't. It's impossible. While sugar prices have plummeted, our costs have skyrocketed too, and so it's really setting us up for an unsustainable situation. Um, and it's not just in the valley. We have sugar beet co-ops across the country here. Over 11 of us. We just had our ASGA meeting, which is farmer leaders from all the other sugar beet co-ops from Michigan to Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado. Everybody's feeling the pain in the sugar beet industry, and the same comment is made that we don't know how long we can hang in doing this. And so it's quite daunting that we need a change. And that's why here a few weeks ago, when I wrote the op-ed to the forum, it highlighted some of the things we need to put in place here to get this problem fixed. Harrison's right. This tariff rate was set in 2000, let's say, and it hasn't kept up with inflation. And now when the world price is so low, and that's only because the foreign countries like Brazil, India is another one, they overproduce. They subsidize their farmers to overproduce, and then they just turn around and dump it on the market. And now they have that advantage of doing so because our tariff rate is low.
Yeah, just to
And
add to that too, Darren,
mhm.
on the world market, Bridget, the a lot of like when people look at the world market, they think, oh, that's the price of sugar. I mean, we hear a lot of from our opposition of like, oh, well, the world price is 15 cents, et cetera, and the U.S. price is 32 cents per pound. What gives, and a lot of people don't recognize that the world price is nothing more than a dump market. Only about 20 to 30% of world production is actually traded on that market, and it's a non-real. I mean, it's the dump market. It's all the sugar that countries produce domestically in their own country or overproduce within their own country, and then they what they do is they raise enough for their own needs, and then they dump the rest onto the world market, and that's that subsidized market. It's not even a legitimate market for our sake,
Right.
but that we're at the mercy of that. And that's what we're up against right now, and it's quite alarming for our industry.
When it comes to your industry, it affects all of us. There are probably people sitting at their offices right now thinking, oh, you know what, sugar beet farmers, they've made money for years. This isn't a big deal. Okay, time out. This is a big deal because what you what your what you think is going on in the marketplace has changed drastically. Cost of production with any farm right now is a struggle. And the sugar beet industry support across this Red River Valley is an economic impact that I don't think we're ready and prepared to take that blow. Can you put that into kind of a size and scope for us, Harrison?
Yeah, it's a $6.1 billion industry in our region. It's a big deal. You know, just our co-op alone, I think it was 2 years ago, we returned $1 billion back to the growers, right? And all of those dollars get spent then at your local tire shop and your cafe and your insurance dealer, and they're, you know, obviously borrowing money from the bank and equipment dealer and vehicles, you name it. All those dollars are getting spent in our rural communities. And not only that, but just talking about the jobs. I mean, at American Crystal, you know, we employ, I think, 1,800 people full time, right? There's 18,000 jobs, primary and secondary jobs related to this industry in this region, and it's a big deal. And if this thing goes away, you know, this region, especially in the rural areas, are going to look a lot different. I'll pick on Drayton, North Dakota, for example. I don't know exactly how many
Yeah.
people live in that town. Um, if somebody's out there, they could probably message you quick, but probably 800, I don't know. And I think we got 300 and some jobs at that factory, right? And I mean, that's obviously the only game in town, relatively speaking. Otherwise, you got to drive, you know, an hour to Grand Forks or wherever it might be to a larger metropolitan area. And so it's a big deal. Hillsboro, same game. Crookston,
Yep.
same game. You know, I think obviously Fargo looks different today, and we have a lot of other industries as well today. But you know, it wasn't that long ago that this region looked a heck of a lot different. You know, or would look a lot different without the sugar industry here. So it's kind of scary for us.
When farms can't pay their bills, irregardless of what crop that they're raising, and yes, we are having that discussion about sugar today, that affects our tax base, our schools, manufacturing, hospitals and clinics, because people are picking up and leaving and those jobs aren't being backfilled. Our grocery stores, our small town and large community cafes, all of those things get impacted by what happens as the farmer turns that dollar on Main Street, whether it's in small towns like Drayton and Hillsboro or larger communities like Fargo Moorhead. It will impact all of us if those jobs start to decrease in the amount of them that we have, the benefits that people have for their jobs, and how that's being spent in the larger community. So, do we have a way out? One of the things that I hear is sugar has been impacted by the change in GLP-1 drugs, the carnivore diet, etc. But I think that's only part of the story, considering what's happening with world sugar being dumped into the U.S. So what can we do differently, whether we're the general public or whether we are those of you who are farmers? And that's probably a Darren and a Harrison answer.
Well, what's encouraging is on a reference to the help we've been getting from Congressman Fedorchak and Senator Hogan's office with having the trade representative's office open up a 301 investigation on sugar alone. Right now, there's a current 301 investigation going on Brazil. And so it's getting those folks that represent us to help us out of this situation. And I want to make sure, you know, we have good representation and good support from 112 members of Congress. That's over 20% of Congress. It's 22 senators and 90 members of the House. And they realize the situation they're in. So as far as getting something done, that is currently what we're working on. And, you know, we just last week, our president of our ASGA association, Clint Hagan, he's a sugar beet farmer from Michigan. He testified in front of the U.S. Trade Rep 301 committee and highlighted exactly what you just said, Bridgette, the effects on schools and our factories and our employees and our rural communities. But he also highlighted the fact that we have lost over $3 billion in revenue in the past 2 years alone. And that was an NDSU study that he used in that testimony. And so we're getting help. We're getting the message out there that something's got to be done. But that's only one step. We're trying to take it a step at a time here. As far as the GLP-1, we don't. By the time you know what the demand is, it's probably too late. But right now,
Mhm.
as we were at the shop meetings, we haven't seen a real downtick in demand, but it's always a threat there too because of that.
Sure.
So, otherwise we're doing what we can on policy wise.
I'm glad to see many of us are trying to increase our better eating habits. There's nothing wrong with that. But sugar is still a part of our lives. And we need carbohydrates in our diet. We can't completely eliminate them. I'm not saying that we all need to have a 12-pack of Sandy's donuts at the house at all times, although, hey, industry-wise, that doesn't hurt. And Sandy's would love it. But we can still make those changes in our lives and still use what's a good quality product, and that would be sugar. And it's still good for our nutrition in a variety of ways. Now, I'm not a nutritionist, but I do know that I can find those answers for many of us, and so can you. So, last
Yeah,
final
Bridget,
thoughts,
just to add on,
Harrison, Darren. Yeah, go
and
ahead.
just to add on that real quick on the kind of the GLP-1, the health effects, that kind of stuff. You'll never hear our industry, like you said, eat a whole tube of Oreos or 10 soft drinks or whatever it might be. We believe sugar can and should be part of a well-balanced diet. When we talk about things like front of package labeling, those types of things we're supportive of. We just need to be put on a level playing field. And so we think it's fine that consumers know how many grams of sugar are in a product XYZ, but then doggone it, they should also know how many grams of some synthetic sweetener are also in there. And so that's really what we need to do for our industry is put us on a level playing field, not only in that space, but back to Darren's comments on the 301 investigation. That's really what we need to do is we need to put the United States back on a level playing field with the rest of the world that are again, continuously being bad actors. They're subsidizing their industries, propping them up through a variety of different schemes. And that's all we're asking is to provide a little bit of a cushion from those bad actors. Because the reality is, if we don't, this industry is going to go by the wayside. And then we're going to be further reliant on these foreign countries that don't have any labor standards, that don't have any environmental standards, that, who knows if you're even going to get the product, for crying out loud. I mean,
Yep.
supply chain challenges up the wazoo, and you might not know what you're going to pay for it. I mean, that's one strong uh, thing about the U.S. sugar program is its entirety. It's made for a kind of a consistent price for consumers. You don't see wild swings like you do in the rest of the world, and so. But that's the reality, and the thing that we need to ask ourselves as consumers in this country is: do we want to raise it here domestically, where we can have a safe, reliable, affordable ingredient, or do we want to get it from, some other country? And I guess only the listeners can answer for themselves.
Gentlemen, I want to say a really big thank you to you for joining us to talk about this because we don't need to see any area of agriculture fail. And the sugar beet industry is truly at the heart of the Red River Valley, and it's one of the things that would cost us dearly in as far as economics are concerned. So, to Darren Hoyme, farmer and president of the Red River Valley Sugar Beet Growers Association, to Harrison Weber, who is the executive director of the association. Thank you. You guys are welcome to come back anytime to share your knowledge and wisdom and ask questions.
And before we go, Bridgette, Darren, is that a Cadillac in back of you with horns on it?
Yeah,
No, that's Harrison.
that's mine.
Harrison, sorry,
Yeah,
Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I'll bend out there. Yeah,
Look
that's
at
our,
that thing! Holy cow! That is
takes up the whole shop. Yeah,
that is
it's
awesome.
my grocery getter. So.
All right.
Yeah, you better give a shout out to your mechanic, Harrison.
That's right. Darren's my ace mechanic.
Oh,
He's got a guy, and oh yeah, we got her tuned up, and it's 1986 Cadillac limo. I actually bought it during beet harvest one year at about 3 a.m. from a guy out of Wyoming, and been a fun little vehicle to give rides in out to the beet field in.
No better time to buy a car than 3 a.m. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's right.
Gosh, I thought you could buy cool things on QVC, but no, there's more.
Wow.
So nice.
That's great. That's great. Well, thanks, guys. When we come back, we're going to have our Wednesday weather trivia, and we'll have a wrap up of the weather forecast as well. All that when we come back. Well, that's interesting choice there, Addison.
This wasn't my idea, but
Okay.
I will take credit for it if you like it.
I didn't know there was a Sugarbeet song. Who knew?
There is. And actually, it is from an episode of Sesame Street that most of it was filmed here in the Red River Valley with farmers in the sugar beet industry.
Interesting. All right. All right. Well, it's time for our Wednesday weather trivia for your chance to win a Darter Plastic Bait Up Cup. And we are talking about heat this week. And our longest stretch of 90-plus days is 15. That's number one. That was set back in the Dust Bowl years of 1936. The question today is, what is in second place? How many consecutive days of 90-plus weather does constitute second place? 701-293-9000 for your chance to win a Darter Plastic Bait Up Cup. And you know what? I will give you a hint. If we make it through this weekend, we will be in second place for the second longest 90-degree stretch that we've ever had here in the Fargo-Moorhead area. So we've talked about it on a couple of our shows, so let's see if we've got some astute listeners. Caller, line one, what's your name?
Terry.
Terry. Hey, welcome, man. What's your guess?
Hey, 15.
No, second place. 15 is first place. What's second place?
9.
You are correct. Yep.
Yeah, 9.
You are right. Yep, 9 consecutive days is second place. That was back in August of 1976. And if we make it through this weekend, that will be 9 consecutive days to put us in second place, which I think we have a pretty decent shot at doing that. So, Terry, we're going to put you on hold, and Addison will take your information. Congrats, Terry.
Thank you.
All right, you bet. All right, so yeah, 9 that doesn't seem like a real lot, does it, Bridgette? But I mean, for this far north, it's something to that we don't see too often. So again, if we can get through this weekend with temperatures 90 or above, which it looks like a pretty good shot, we'll go down in the record books at least in second place. Don't think there's any chance of us getting that number one slot, nor do we want that either.
When you're living it, it does feel like we're already at 31 days of possible heat stroke every day. So
seems like it.
That.
Yeah. No doubt.
Do you want?
What's that?
I want to let folks know that there is a soil health school coming up on August 6th and 7th. This will be at Crookston, Minnesota at Craig LaPlante's farm. This is an opportunity for you to look at field assessments, a rainfall simulator demo, farm tour by Craig LaPlante, and also a number of topics with Ray Archuleta. So mark your calendars. That's August 6th and 7th up at Crookston. I'll make sure to bring it up a couple of times before it happens.
All right, that'll do it for today's edition of Weather and Ag in Focus. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Don't go anywhere. Jay Thomas Show, it's coming up next.